All right, and welcome back to another episode of the Crimson Podcast. I'm your host, Ari Rosen, alongside my co-host, Andrew Trop and Julian Bonk. And today, after another memorable fall sports season, we're going to just go in and recap it. So why don't we start with football? So another successful season for the Burners football team. I mean, not much else you could say.
Undefeated regular season, sectional runner-ups, 11-1 the year. I think it was a pretty successful season after winning their first sectional title last year. Came back and had another strong season this year.
Yeah. How many straight divisional titles is that?
Five
now?
Yeah, five straight division champs, which I don't think a team has ever done in school history.
It's impressive.
Yeah, I know, it is very impressive. And to have the hardest schedule in school history, I mean, you got teams like Summit, J.P. Stevens, even though they're not very good, they're the sixth biggest school in the state.
Right, huge school.
It was a very different schedule, and many people did not think that we would be in that situation that we're in. And
I mean, especially impressive doing that with a first-year quarterback, a sophomore, Nolan Walsh, who had an incredible year, 18 touchdowns to just 6 interceptions, almost 2,000 passing yards. What made his life a little easier, I feel, was the incredible rushing attack we had with Patrick Carlisle, Logan Stevens, both over 600 yards, 10 touchdowns each.
Yeah, no, it's a nice duo where you can kind of fall back on it, and I think that's what made the offense work so well. And then his favorite receiving target, Jack Moore, with
11 of the 18 touchdowns that Nolan threw.
Yeah, I mean,
went to Jack Moore. He had 731 yards in the year. Dominant season from him.
I mean, how many times did they connect on that deep ball throughout the season? It was
incredible to watch.
It was incredible. You know, they really stepped up in the big moments together.
Yeah, and they couldn't have done it without the incredible defense as well. I mean, led by senior Terrence Hanratty with 131 total tackles on the year.
That is unheard of.
Just a big number.
That is crazy.
Big number.
I mean, for like a normal season, like 75 tackles is good. That's
he almost doubled that.
Yeah, he almost doubled that. So
incredible.
That is an incredible stat, and I think that just pays homage to how hard our defense and how our whole team just worked so hard. And then Thomas DeMar added 10 sacks.
That's a school record.
He got the school record in total for total sacks. Yeah, and our defensive line, you know, is just really, you got a big up front with David Silva. He had multiple 10 tackle games, and you know, it's just, can't run up the middle because you got Silva, and then you try to bounce it to the outside.
10 tackles a game.
And then with Chase Caponegro and Danny Ferguson, and you got Benji getting in the middle of things, Deshaun Shabazz, and the defense just really clicked together, and I think it made everything flow nicely.
Yeah. Well, let's stay on Olcott Field. We shift to a little earlier in the day usually and move to the boys soccer team, who continues to just be utterly dominant in our school sports. 14-4 this year.
Over the last few years with Mr. LaSpot, I mean, he's been coaching here forever.
Yeah, he's been the only coach in the history of Burns.
But just the program, they're it's a legacy now. I mean, it has been for the last few years, and obviously falling short in the playoffs. But from last year, winning sections for another 10 games
or regular season.
It's hard to live up to all those.
Captain William Carambella and Jacob Marquez both added 10 goals each, and Jacob is just
a beast. 10 goals and 1 assist in the year.
Yeah,
I'll be back next year.
They're in good hands next year. I mean, obviously William's a huge loss, Mikey Dooley, and he's a big loss, but they just really flow together too, and that's another.
And going into next year, I mean, seniors next year, obviously Jacob Marquez, Victor Panasic, Tim Koch, Jerry Walsh, all sorts of just.
They're
really good players.
Tight knit group that I think is going to step up next year and really continue the Bernard soccer legacy.
Yep.
Right. And I think it's almost that feeling of just how close they are that makes them play so well on the field every single year.
Right?
Yeah,
it's really fun to watch.
And
then moving on to girls soccer, had a disappointing end of the season. They were runner-up in sectionals, lost in overtime in the sectional final.
That was
a very successful season nonetheless.
They've been they were also 4-time division champs. They have won all of those senior. Yeah. They had a really big senior class, and I think that's what, when we're continuing the family talk, I mean, they're another one of those tight-knit Bernards teams that just wants to win for each other. They play for each other, and I think that really showed this year. I mean, a big senior group. They're really close, and a lot of the seniors led the team. You got Peyton Zahn, Fairfield commit, scoring 25, followed by Bailey Olson with 22 goals. I mean, That's really impressive numbers.
Yeah.
And Peyton also added 29 assists, 25 and 29. That is just like
That's amazing.
That's
That's
unheard
amazing
of.
numbers. And then you got a brick wall in the net with Ella Domitrowski with 158 saves on
How
the
many
year.
PK saves did she have? She had like 6,
Something
maybe
crazy.
something
Wow.
something like
crazy.
that. She
That's
just
keeping them in the game.
She really stepped up
Wow.
when they needed her to, and you got that led by the defense too, like Charlotte Burlingame and Alexa Paterno.
Mhm.
They're just locked down. They're just fluent all around, and then they just got unfortunate with the Madison team.
Mhm.
I mean, they're 19th in the state.
Yeah,
Like
really good.
it was just an
Good team.
unfortunate, like it's just two great teams battling it out for sections, and of course it was like there's just no other
Right.
way for that game to end other than in overtime.
Yeah.
And it's just like it's upsetting, but they've been working hard and they haven't made it to the sections yet. So that was, and they got a lot of young kids too. They got some
Right.
juniors.
They're in
like
good hands.
The Burke twins,
Right.
Shannon Dill. So they'll be good for the next few years.
Yeah.
Jane Stauffer
Jane
too.
Stauffer, yeah.
She's a beast. She's a dog. So she's always hustling it out every play. And they're going to be ready for next year, a little comeback season.
Yeah. And then moving on to cross country.
Cross country, we got
Yeah.
one of our
We're
own right
familiar
here.
with that one.
Yeah, on the boys' side, we won our first county title since 1988, which was huge for the team. We finished second in the Skyline Conference overall, second in Group 2, sectional runner-ups. And then on the individual side, Brody Watt had the 9th fastest time in the entire state this year. And then John Richardson finished 20th at the Media Champions out of, all the people in the state that had to even qualify for the race. He was in the top 20, which is just incredible.
It almost feels like every single time there is a cross country meet, I see
Someone-
some record
Yeah,
from someone
someone's
somewhere.
winning
Cross
it.
country program is
Lot
just
of
so
records.
good.
And that is another one of those like legacy programs
Mhm.
at
Yeah.
Bernards with
Right.
Mr. Showstack.
Yeah.
He's been here for a while. He's a legend here. I mean, the countless titles he's won, division championships, all of that. I mean, it's incredible.
It's almost gotten to be like an expectation that
Yeah.
if,
Yeah, a lot of
if you
these
don't
sports
win
are just-
everything,
Yeah.
then
No.
something went
Yeah.
wrong in the season.
Yeah, but that's
they
just
just
what
continue to
they
do
just
it.
built it themselves. I mean, I guess it's
Yeah.
just whether it's the area, the coaching, we just produce really fast kids,
Yeah.
I guess, and they're always ready to go.
Yeah, and on
So-
the girls' side, Lucinda Putnam qualified for the Media Champions, and they finished third at sectionals, which qualified them for groups. And it was a great season for the team on both sides, boys and girls.
Really great season for almost every
For
sport.
sports,
I feel.
yeah.
It's
Yeah.
going really well.
Yeah, no,
A
I
lot of
think
titles
that's,
won.
we're one of those small schools that's just paving our way to the
Staying
top.
Above our
Yeah.
weight, yeah.
But, we're surrounded by Ridge, Bridgewater,
Yeah,
all
our
these big
conference and
schools.
county are
But we're just starting to
private
hold our own.
schools, Group
Yeah,
4
Pingree.
schools, and then-
Yeah, for cross country to be able to be the Somerset County champion,
Yeah, over
it's
It's
just
just
incredible.
crazy. You should, when you think of a small Group 2 school like ourselves, we shouldn't even be able to compete
Mhm.
with these
Yeah.
schools that have as many people in their grades as we do. Like,
Entire school,
yeah,
right,
so
yeah,
it's
it's incredible.
it's awesome. Now moving on to field hockey. They won the division last year, and they got bumped up a division, which put them in that harder harder area.
Yeah,
of
you got to
teams.
adjust to these teams that
Yeah,
are
finishing
a level above. who
finishing
you're used to
seven.
playing.
Yeah, 7
Yeah.
12 on the season. They had a lot of close games too, and they were never really like out of anything. They just had a tougher schedule. And
Yeah.
Yeah,
Kendall Schmerler and Brooke Heppenstall both led the team with 11 goals, and Kendall also added 11 assists, and Kai Alexander added 308 saves.
Wow.
Saves. It felt like
That is,
I follow the field hockey team on Instagram, and it feels like after every game there was they
some big
whenever they
moment,
win,
Yeah.
they have this I think it's called the unicorn of the game,
Yeah.
and I feel like it was Kai Alexander almost every single time for
Yeah.
the work that she's done in that, really just being able to keep them in the game. And she's a junior; she'll be back next
Yeah.
year. The team's in
Absolute
a good
brick
spot.
wall. Yeah, of
And
course.
honestly, going 7-12, moving up conferences is
It's a
it's
challenging
a win.
thing, yeah.
At the end of the day, you're just going to continue to learn, continue to figure out how to play against maybe these tougher opponents until eventually, you start getting the results that you got in the
Yeah.
last year, but against even better teams. So
Yeah,
I
I
think
mean,
they're in good shape.
We talked about the bigger teams,
Mhm.
and it's
Yeah.
there's not much you can do
Right.
about it at the end of the day. I mean,
Except for adapt.
you got to adapt, and I think their stock is definitely on the rise, and they'll have a good season next year.
yeah. And then
So-
moving on to volleyball, it went 10-14, including a
And-
10-6 record
In the
in
division.
the Skyline in the
Conference,
division. conference play.
And that's impressive for a team that has its second
year.
Yeah.
Very new team. New
Yeah.
program.
To be able
to have a winning record in conference play is really incredible.
Yeah. And to be able to hold their own against, like we said, the bigger schools, it's like it's going to be a repeated topic. But yeah. Senior Olivia Puccinelli led the team with 34 aces, and star athlete junior Aletha Reynolds had 102 kills. That is that is a lot. Yeah. And on to girls tennis. One of the more underrated teams.
Underrated.
Very
Underappreciated.
They are,
Yeah.
yes, underrated, underappreciated.
Yeah.
Everything you can possibly think of is the girls tennis team.
Yeah, they were the only team this fall to win the sectional championship.
And-
Actually, back-to-back sectional winners.
And they don't get
13-4 this year.
they don't get enough love. That's why we
the
save the
attention
best for
appreciation
last. Yeah,
that they
that's what.
deserve. I mean, that's 2 straight state sectional championships for the team, led by head coach St. Hours.
And assistant coach Doug Voigt. No, they have they're just another one of those dynamic teams. They just love to get out there. They love to compete. There was a good amount of seniors.
But they're gonna be right back next year because they have so many non-seniors as well. It's just the perfect blend.
They're just gonna keep rising.
Leadership
Yeah.
plus, they're coming back next year.
And one of our very own, editor in chief, Claire Taylor, a big part of that.
Big part of the team.
Section championship run.
What a great time to get to in her high school career is very, very impressive.
Yeah, that is something that most can't say.
Most can't say.
So,
That's true.
yeah, and just what an incredible sports season
Just
all around.
Just a
around.
great season.
Every team.
A lot of teams making it far. Football falling short to Shabazz. Obviously, not what you want, but
Just
you're
a
making
great
it there.
season, 11
You're making it
wins.
It's a
there.
great
Yeah,
season.
Nothing to be
Soccer's
ashamed of.
always dominant.
always
even if,
making a playoff
even if
run.
maybe this year is a disappointment by their eyes, it's still an incredible run.
Most teams never touch the playoffs, and it's like an It is an expectation. It's the standard. It's the norm for you to be able to reach it and at least win 1 or 2 games and make it further and further each year. And that is kind of the fall sport legacy now that Bernards has to follow. And I think we'll be able to do it for the next few years. Football is prized for another great year.
Be good.
Yeah. Everyone's just going to get older and stronger, bigger, better for every sport. And I think it's going to pay off.
Yep.
For sure.
Yeah.
And looking at winter sports coming up, I mean, wrestling team's always good.
The boys basketball team is
Boys basketball.
ready for another
girls
big year.
basketball.
Fencing had a great year last year.
Fencing had an
Another one of
incredible year
those
last year.
underrated Bernards
People
sports
just
is the
don't-
Bernards
I
fencing
don't
team.
think of it, and it's really incredible.
Yeah.
So if you have a chance, try to get out to some of those matches, some of those games. Some of the lesser known ones.
The girls basketball team's going to be very senior heavy this year, senior oriented, and they're just everybody's ready for winter sports to get rolling. Everyone's ready for the domination. Hopefully that comes out of it, because when you think of winter sports, it's not always the most dominating. Not everyone's making it far, but the trend in the recent years has just gone upwards. Boys basketball's trend. They made it to the section semifinals last year, which hasn't really been done. They won the division for the first time since 2018, I think. So it's just everything's just on the rise here.
Everything's getting better.
Invest now. Buy your stock in all Bernard sports. That's all my advice.
Yep.
That should be ready.
Should be.
All right, that will do it for today's episode. I'm your host, Artie Rosen, alongside my co-host, Andrew Chuck and Julian Bong. Thank you so much for listening. Have a great day.